Hasn't learned French yet, but he knows how to order coffee and a croissant. Will that be... Sean's just lost it.
Was he asking, but what's French for croissant?
Anyway, you never know. Sam might well deliver today. I'd love to see it. He's had a few sniffs. How's he going to get on today, Robbie?
Well, I think he's survived the mountains, and a sprinter being a sprinter, if he gets a sniff, he can certainly be in it to win it. He's done it before in the Tour de France. He was in very good form in May coming in at the 4 days of Dunkirk, the good old 6-day race, 4 days of Dunkirk.
Yeah, it was 6 days this year. It's been as much as 8, actually.
I think he won 4 of the stages out of the 6.
He was on stellar form. I was had high hopes for him. 4 days. Yes. I mean, who would be your secondary pick today, Danny? Let's say for a top 5 that we haven't really dwelt on.
I mean, just going back to Ackerman, he's had 3 third places. They'll have 2 objectives, of course, coming in to protect Derek G and his place on GC, but he's a good shout. If we're looking aside from Ackerman, DeLee is another rider that I've highlighted as a potential rider, again, without a stage win, who is obviously very, very keen, but maybe said he lacks experience in the Tour. Demar, although yesterday, on the day before the rest day, he made the time cut by 30 seconds. He was the last rider on the road. So with Demar, I do worry that he'll be holding more fatigue, and I think that's what it's all about today. It will be a very tired sprint. Who's got that fatigue resistance coming into the final opportunity to put themselves in a good spot?
Demar is a bit of a smash and grab artist as well. When he won Milano-San Remo, I don't think he'd possibly mind too much about me saying it that way. There was a big crash around him, but he holds his own on occasion. And when he came up the barriers the other day, I was a bit disappointed he got relegated, Robbie.
I was a bit disappointed. I thought it was debatable, the relegation there. That the movement was absolutely minimal, and you can't expect to take your metre-long ruler and draw a line with it that's 200 metres long and say, from that line, ye shall not deviate. And I mean, he did go across it a little bit, but I find you should be able to protect your position and professionally close the door without putting somebody into the barriers. And at one point where Wout van Aert got closest to the barriers, actually the barriers that came out to him, there was quite a kink in them, which I find that there needs to be more done at finishes by the organisation to have someone, a safety officer with experience in what we're talking about, so someone who's ridden Tour sprints with a fine eye for detail to recheck everything in the minutes before the peloton approaches the finish line. Gives them time to rectify things like barriers that have been kicked out a bit due to crowds pushing on them, because that happens so very often. And the other thing that irritates me about Tour de France finishes, the biggest, most important race in the world, the fact that the crowd are able to lean over the barrier, and if they're leaning out, they're holding any piece of paraphernalia, whatever, they can come into contact with the riders. It's incredibly dangerous, and it's a very simple fix to keep them further back with a very small buffer, which keeps everybody in the same line. They still see exactly the same amount. They just cannot physically touch riders by hanging over the barriers or waving their arms about.
Do you remember the cardboard hands?
Yes, because it nearly...
The cardboard cut.
Yeah, I won't say it nearly chopped his arm off, but it lacerated Thor Hushovd upper right arm, and He was bleeding like a stuck pig.
Who's off was bleeding profusely.
Have you not heard that expression?
I have, yes. Do you remember and they're still around in certain races, air sausages. What on earth were they about? Can't you just clap with your hands? Why do you have to bang two inflatables together? And they were
otherwise they have
absolutely
to paint advertising on people's hands, I suppose.
and they were lethal. They used to occasionally lose one of those, and they caused all kinds of havoc as well for riders. So yeah, if they can moderate the publicity, they can also, of course, as you say, have a 10-minute before the riders arrive rule, last checks on the barriers, just to make sure they haven't been pushed out of place, because anything can happen. Gosh. Well, we've been chastising today. 2 minutes and 4 is the gap to Thomas Gachinat. We've seen virtually nothing of him because I think the hopes of him making it home today are practically zero. We have had a breakaway make it in the past. It came so close with Jack Bauer, of course, to Alexander Kristoff denied him, but Niels Pollitt on a hillier route than we have had on our approach today to Nîmes. That was in 2021 where he won solo from a breakaway. We've got a solo rider up the road, but I haven't really got high hopes. Likewise, hopes diminishing for the wind. We were expecting it around 98, then we were expecting it around 80, 86, and then we're expecting it possibly now. But from the look of the trees and the look of the way they're riding, there is none. It's a shame. It would have defined the day. So, what is going to define the day? It's going to be the fast man, Danny.
Yeah, it is. Jasper Philipsen, you're seeing here, just at the back of the peloton, just chilling, getting a bit of assistance, cooling from the staff of his team. The ice in the tights down the back of the neck, whilst his teammate is on the front, just controlling things. But no stress for Alpecin and Jaco Alula, who are the two teams just marshalling the front, just making sure that gap doesn't go out too much. But yeah, no stress whatsoever. You can see the yellow jersey there, Jonas in the King of the Mountains polka dot jersey on the left-hand side of the screen as well.
Great deal of respect between the pair of them. We had a lovely feature earlier on today where we were just pondering the atmosphere between the pair of them. I think, Robbie, they're both grateful that the other one exists.
We're grateful the other one exists,
We
because
certainly are.
it would be a very one-sided battle without one or the other.
I think they spur each other on, though, don't they?
Yeah, well, they do, and it's what you need for someone to be great. You need someone else great for them to beat. Otherwise, it just seems inevitable and obvious.
Absolutely right. Well, another rather fetching viaduct, and we wait for everyone to reveal themselves through this little ammo. Just going to welcome back our wider cycling fraternity. Well, it's turned into a very still afternoon here on the Tour de France. 188.6 kilometres, quite a rude distance really, coming out of a rest day, but they've kind of taken it at their ease, at least at the beginning. The nerves that we have had so far today have been generated, well, firstly, of course, by the intermediate sprint, but possibly even in advance of that, by the very threat of wind. Seems the threat is enough. What's going on here? You could have hurried up there, madam, I think was the was the expression. You never know what's going to happen, I'm afraid. This is an open sport and it demands respect from the spectators, and we've spoken about this earlier today.
Even from those who don't seem to realise it's going on.
Exactly, I think that's what that exclamation was indeed about, or at least that sign as to, are you serious? Couldn't you have made that across there a little bit quicker? But yes, generally speaking, I mean, save for the man with the chips, or crisps, whatever you want to call them, the riders seem to have been well respected, although there has been, it has been noted that there's been a bit of booing, which you doggedly, determinedly, unfortunately, seems to be very much part of the sport. Whenever anyone excels, they try to get knocked down. It's that heads over the parapet thing, isn't it?
Yeah, the tall poppy syndrome. I don't know, maybe a few wandering and lost football fans gotten used to booing the opposition, but it's not the done thing in cycling.
Well, one would hope that that one day will be the case, but sadly it is kind of with us. We've had all kinds of abuse of cyclists through the years, some more significant than others. Eddie Merckx himself receiving a blow to the liver back in the day, and Chris Froome having all kinds of unmentionables hurled at him, as well as the abuse. So, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, save for a bag of crisps, I think we've done all right this year, and let's hope it stays pretty much like that. It's a gift having the Tour come by. Any Grand Tour and cycling generally is not ticketed. It's here for the fans to get as respectfully close as they possibly can to their heroes. There's no sport like it, Robbie.
No, there's not, and that's what's so great about it. It is what makes it sometimes dangerous. It can be oftentimes frustrating. Particularly for those riding at the front in the mountains when the crowd is at fever pitch and running alongside and inadvertently throwing flip-flops underneath the front wheel. We saw that the other day on Plateau de Bay, the slow motion replay of a flip-flop going underneath Tadej Pogacar's front wheel when he was following Jonas Vingegaard. Luckily that didn't affect him nor the outcome of the race.
No, it's a privilege, isn't it? And I was listening to Geraint and Luke on their podcast last night, and they were talking about the worst thing that's ever been thrown at them, and Geraint said a firework. So I mean, crisps compared to a firework, yeah, I think you take that, but it's just, yeah, not needed and totally unnecessary, isn't it?
Yes, the flip-flop, of course, invented by Philippe Philop. Or I may have made that up. We hail him.
That's one of your better jokes, Carlton.
Oh,
that's a worry.
I liked it anyway.
Thank you. A minute and 54 is the gap. You know, the average pace today has not been the slowest.
I thought you were going to tell us about the average size of a flip-flop.
No, we'll have to ask Philippe about that.
Not quite field art, this one, is it?
No, it's not quite an homage either, but...
good viewing point, though. However.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Square bales, they kind of disappeared for a while.
Extra large.
And yeah, the Tour de France actually has to commission the smaller bales, which they used to use at the side of the road. I haven't actually seen any, I must admit. But yeah, they had to be specially made, and Sean Kelly was fully au fait with how much they used to cost.
We looked it up, didn't we, Danny? If you only want to buy sort of a few, one to 5, they're about £7 for the low quality. The sort you put on the stable floor, and they help catch the mess, which then has to be all cleaned up. But when it's a bale of feed, then it goes up significantly at over £20 a bale.
Well, Sean used to grow straw, yeah, as feed. He knows everything between silage, haylage, and the rest of it. I didn't even know haylage exists, but it does. Anyway, what also exists are some fabulous sprinters. Here's Dylan Groenewegen.
Dylan, already got the stage win in the bag, so the pressure's off in one respect, but another opportunity today, the last opportunity. What can you tell us about today's final?
Yeah, a lot of runabouts. That's for 100% sure. So yeah, we know what to do, and yeah, pushing forward to have a good position.
And how have you recovered after the very difficult mountain stages we just had?
Yeah, that was a really hard one, but almost all the sprinters made it. Everybody suffered. It wasn't a really nice stage, but not for the sprinters, and yeah, we made it in the time cut, so that was good. Yeah, today everybody feel, I think, a little bit tired also after the rest day, but yeah, last week, yeah, less chance, so we go for it.
Well, as we come into guard, it's time for a changing of that guard, and we welcome back to carry you home today, Rob Hatch.
Thank you very much, Carlton. So 50 kilometres to go on this stage of the Tour de France. Stage 16 today, starting in Grisson, heading to Nîmes, 188 kilometres in total. Bobby McEwen's still just about with us. He's laughing and smiling away in the background. What's tickled you?
It just gives me the giggles every time, like from a chopper, which makes a lot of noise. They give us a shot of some cattle in a field, and then they play in the mooing sound effect. It just gets me every time.
Well, getting his time at the front is Thomas Gachignat. An interesting selection for this Tour de France. He had a really good podium at the French Nationals, third. But before this tour, he'd never ever ridden a stage race longer than 6 days in pro racing. That happened only once. He'd only ever done 4 days against World Tour opposition. He's new to this. He's survived 2 and a bit weeks in, and he's on his throne at the front, giving it a good go. A couple of solid top 10s in one-day racing. A couple of Trop-Bro-Léon, Doise de Vlaandre are difficult races. But this is different. And he's enjoying himself at the front today.
Well, this is something we spoke about just a little bit earlier, Rob. The fact that this season he's had just 1 DNF. He's only not finished 3 races in the last 2 seasons. I went through the last 4 seasons. You can count his did not finishes on one hand.
It's all the more impressive then, given that he's stepping up to this new level here.
He's finished 19 out of 19 stage races that he's ridden.
Easier to finish when they're not 3 weeks long.
That is true, but you know, just getting through any of them without any major mishap, getting one end to the other is, and you know, not falling ill, not getting injured.
Part of the game, certainly nowadays. Extra eating, fueling, all that sort of stuff as well. Danny's left for the moment, so he's going to join us in a minute. Sean's here as well. We're into the final 50Ks.
That means I'm going to take a short break and I'll rejoin for the finale.
Thanks, Robbie. See you in a moment. 1 minute 36. What can we describe this as, Sean? An adventure?
Well, this is a bit of a, I think, a lot of effort for no gain. You know, when you see the position of the race and the way the sprinters are controlling, you'd be better off to wait for another day. And talking about Thomas Gachinard, you know, about race finishing and that, and as Robbie said, not abandoning races. Yeah, maybe he doesn't take much risk. Maybe he doesn't push himself too much. He doesn't get sick. There's all of that to be considered, but still, it is nice to be able to do that. But yeah, a surprise selection, as you said, Rob, coming into this one, not having you know, a lot of stage races in your legs, but yeah, he's surviving well. When you're being out there today, able to get out there, even to think about getting out there today, you have to feel okay.
Peloton still rolling along. The not quite expected but feared wind hasn't really materialised yet. 47.6 k's to go on the way to Nîmes. Larry rejoins us. Larry's been watching on. Anything to report your end, Larry?
No, not a whole lot, but I guess just referring to Gachinard out there in front is, you know, if you're on a team like Total and you don't have a big sprinter, you know, just getting out there in front, it can be still a big bonus for the team. You know, it's a lot of TV time, and I actually just, I mean, I was scrolling through Twitter when I was off the air there, and I came across Inner Ring posted something that actually apparently Cofidis got more impressions or more sort of return on their investment for a day out front of Anthony Perez last year in the Tour, more than they got from Victor Lafay's stage win, because they said, well, Lafay was only off the front for 1 kilometer, whereas Anthony Perez was off the front the whole day. So, I mean, I don't know how they exactly do these calculations, but I think it can be big for, you know, some of these sponsors and these teams to have a guy out front the whole day.
That's difficult to believe, but also impressively depressing, I think, at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tells a lot of the tale of social media.
I'd much rather win a stage than do this, but, you know, to each their own.
We're going to sign you. What we don't want you to do is win anything. We just want you to get the jersey on the telly and get on the internet, will you? That's how it's going to go. It's funny you mentioned Total Energy, because you ride for one of the more established French teams as well. And Total Energy have been around for a long, long time too. Does that sort of rivalry still exist when you have to meet? And, you know, are you still told, oh, we've got to be better than them?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a big rivalry between the French teams, and I mean, maybe less so Total, but I mean, definitely between our team and FDJ. there's a big rivalry, and you know, I think for our team, yeah, it's really important to be the best French team. And yeah, I mean, luckily this year we've succeeded. It's been a few years since we were on top of that, but yeah, it's big for the. I mean, yes, you know, obviously you're competing against the whole peloton, but for the French teams, it's really important for them to be the best French team.
We'll ask about your team's improvement when the television viewers come back in a moment and everybody's together and listening. Sean, rather famously at the Giro d'Italia, suggested it might have been due to a change of uniform, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Have to be careful about the words I use there, Sean. I don't want to make the same mistake as you did. We'll have a quick look down and around as we go to 46 k's to go. Jonathan has been waxing lyrical about this part of the world. My favourite part of France is also the south. Weather helps, doesn't it? And certainly on a day today. Stunning. Welcome back, everybody. Nice to have you with us for what is stage 16 of this Tour de France. Probably the last sprint stage of this tour. Should be, when you look at the profile and the way things have listed. It could well be, and should be, the last sprint stage in the career of Mark Cavendish at the Tour de France as well. There's plenty going on as we go into the final 45 kilometres. For now, going on, hasn't been too much of a race today, let's be honest about it. Thomas Gachignard is out in the front. He's out there doing his best to try and put the name of his jersey, his team out on the telly. Total Energy have already won a stage. Anthony Turgis came up with that in the Champagne region. Of corks popped that evening. The minute, it's just over a minute and a half for Gachignard on a chasing peloton that has two riders just doing the job, mainly Chris Juhl Jensen as well as Sylvain Dillier, who's ridden all day long. Well, riding for quite a while now for a French team. It's the only American and first American ever on Decathlon AG2R. We see L'Enfant Wilder getting his front wheel changed. Those of you who watch the Giro d'Italia with us, or even were on social media, might have seen that viral clip of King Kelly alongside me, suggesting that their upturning fortunes this year and their many wins, breaking all kinds of records for quite a few years, were down to them getting rid of those pairs of brown shorts. We all know, though, Larry Warbass, that improvements have been made elsewhere. So we want the secret. I know you've been on podcasts and told people you think's going to happen, but our viewers haven't yet had it from the horse's mouth. Why are you all so darn good this year?
Yeah, so I've definitely been asked that question quite a lot. And for the viewers who maybe aren't super familiar, in the World Tour rankings, last year we were ranked 18th. And this year we are, well, before the tour we were second. So obviously that's a huge, huge progression. And yeah, I've been asked the question so many times that I actually tried to break it down. And I guess I came to a few conclusions. I think, you know, the arrival of Decathlon as the sponsor. So, you know, AG2R has sponsored the team for a really long time. For the last few years, it was AG2R Citroën. And this year, Decathlon came on board. And, you know, they brought new bikes, but then they also are one of the new title sponsors. And yeah, so I guess the thing is that brought sort of a fresh new motivation. You know, I mean, not that we didn't have motivation before, but I think the arrival of the new sponsor, it sort of, yeah, it brought like something needs to change. And so, yeah, I guess the team starting at the end of last year they called all the riders. They thought, you know, what are things that we need to work on? And it was sort of the first time I've ever heard them asking for our input and what we thought of as riders. And so, you know, I think they took some of these things into account. And yeah, it sort of started the ball rolling. And then, you know, one thing we absolutely can't deny is that our equipment is unbelievable this year. So, you know, the bike is a package. It's not just the frame, it's not just the wheels, it's not just the group set, it's everything together. And I can say that our new bike is very fast, something that I guess we wouldn't have expected a couple years ago when they told us we were going to be riding bikes from Decathlon, or that was a maybe even potential possibility. Everyone was actually scared. You know, everyone was super hesitant because they didn't exactly have the best that reputation before, but yeah, the team at Van Rysel and Decathlon, they've invested a ton into this project, and yeah, I mean, they developed a bike that's, yeah, it's amazing.
Well, we'll come back to that in just a minute, maybe get chapter 2 on it. We've gone into the equipment. First, let's turn the clock back with Jonathan.
Yeah, back to 2008. Mark Cavendish, he was talking about it a little earlier on, 16 years ago, when he posted this victory in Nîmes, coming home in first place, in second on the day. Someone who's now part of our commentary team. Robbie McEwen second on the day, Romain Fayou in third, Heinrich Hausler fourth, and Oscar Freire was the rider in the green jersey, taking over. But Mark Cavendish winning in Nîmes in what seems like an entire career ago, and, well, probably very much nearly is.
Thanks, Jono. That wonderful old blue Team Columbia jersey as well. They were amazing when they arrived on the scene. Stapleton's sons going after all sorts of fantastic wins, and they were winning machines, weren't they? Now then, with Decathlon, Sean, I know you've been listening intently. Are you satisfied with the response so far?
Yes, well, it's a really interesting one because, as Larry said, the way they've been riding this year, it's just amazing. Unfortunately, our countryman is not as riding as we expect him to be, but yeah, Decathlon AG2 Award, they have had yeah, just dream results, and yeah, when you get a big sponsor, of course, and I suppose again, maybe another thing, if you have more of a budget, you can have more support around the riders, and that can help as well, because we know how much around the team, the riders, they need all the help, and the bigger teams, the big budgets, they have huge help, and just little things you can see immediately. Out on the road, you have so much personnel now on a stage like in the Tour of France, when it's really warm conditions, that they're there to hand up the bottles, and yeah, we see the gels and the bars taped to the biddens and all of that, and just those little things. But yeah, there's so many of those things that are so important at the end of a race, and of a 3-week race, much greater again.
Sylvain Dillier here, just stopping for what looked like a bike change or a wheel change. He's done a lot of work today.
Something interesting about his bike, I actually meant to say it earlier as he was spending all these kilometers at the front, is if you look at his handlebars, they're super flared, and he's the only one on his team who has this model of bar. It's something I noticed at Tour de Suisse, and I asked him about it because they look kind of crazy, like a new kind of gravel-esque bar, and what he told me was that Canyon tested it, and apparently it's 40 watts faster than the other bar.
How much?
I mean, I don't know if they measured that at 100 kilometers an hour or what, but apparently it is ridiculously faster, and that's why he's riding them. But I would guess if they were 40 watts faster, you would have seen everyone in the peloton on the same bars. But yeah, apparently they're fast, so that's why he's riding these really crazy flared-out bars.
Well, it's amazing. All these new inventions or improvement of material, let's call it. We hear every day, every year, every month. The bikes, the clothing, the socks, the shoes, you can spare so many watts. And if that continue, Rob, we'll never get back there. We might be able to get back in the peloton and ride the Tour of France, because it looks like that it's not the power you need at all. It's all about all these new tech, which is so improving and so gaining advantage. It's just amazing. And I wonder, and I said it to Rob, I think back in the beginning of the season, we're hearing about these bikes that are coming out, and they're lighter, they're faster, and yeah, it's just it's hard to believe. I question a lot in some of the places, because it's all about marketing as well. But yeah, there's definitely something, because the average and the speed are going in the races. We're seeing every year it seems to be getting faster. We're breaking all those records, one-day races, stage races. So yeah, there is definitely a big part in that.
I had a list at the start of the season of all the fastest editions of races that I ended up commentating, and it seemed like every weekend there's an addition to that list. All the main monuments and classics have that, and you feel, oh my goodness, I'm being repetitive here. I've just said it was the fastest whatever ever, and then it happens again the week after, and it's a huge thing. You have to state it, but we feel like we're talking a bit like stuck records here, saying the same thing, and it was happening. And I saw it written about what happened the other day on Plateau de Bay. Oh, this is perhaps not the best climbing performance ever, but the fastest climbing performance ever. We heard about watts per kilo being the best numbers ever. Jonas Vingegaard saying he was the best Jonas Vingegaard ever, but he was still absolutely hammered by Pogacar, shipping over a minute to him. I mean, it is incredible. And when you hear from, what you're talking about, Larry, with all the planning that's gone into the equipment, I was hearing all sorts of stories about people testing all different models of bikes and trying to take the best bit from each bike and putting it into the new bike that you guys were riding. But I know at your team as well, there's been a change in management structure, hasn't there? And it was in the paper this morning, actually. If you look at L'Equipe this morning, your old boss, Vincent Lavenue, of course, is still in charge at certain aspects in the team, but I know he's not just the only main man anymore, is he?
Yeah, so that's another big change. So yeah, I didn't go through all my points, but yeah. So we have a new manager. His name is Dominique Cerise, and he comes from motorsport. So he actually started out as a rally driver, and then he ran his own rally team, and they were quite successful. I believe he was also president of the French Motorsport Federation, and so it's actually the first time he's been in cycling. He wasn't familiar with the sport, but he came in and he thought, okay, there are a lot of changes I need to make here, and so the cool thing is they've still kept a lot of the people who've been around for a long time, like Vincent, the previous manager, but they're starting to slowly make changes.
Let's go to Adam on the motorbike.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is one of those days that I'm sure you have discussed already. As a bike rider, it's fantastic. As a spectator, it's not so entertaining, but let me tell you, back here in the cars is entertaining. I'm sure I've got a rider behind me somewhere. There's one back there, Michael Matthews, right at the back. There is something always happening back here, and it's just started to get a little bit more stressful within the cars. If I could turn this camera around, and you could see now there's two cars next to each other, there's a motorbike on the side of them, they're all trying to move up, the photographers are trying to move up, the team cars, you can see them all rushing past me. Although it looks calm on the TV, I can assure you, within these team cars, the information that they're giving out to the riders, the constant reminder that they always need to eat and drink, it is never ending back here. So as I said, it looks calm in the front of the peloton, probably is calm in the front of the peloton, but here it's chaotic. You can just see now, I could tap that car if I wanted to. It's just tight as you like. There's riders, there's cars everywhere. It's fantastic, and it's only going to hot up before the finish now, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to jump ahead and hopefully give you a little bit of a run in to the finish to tell you what it's all about. Back to you, commentators.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blythe. I know you get excited just about everything, but interesting to see as we're coming into the final 36 kilometres, the crowds are everywhere. Those flags are still blowing. Never know on the way to Nîmes. As I said, people moving up, a lot of action, a lot of stress. I guess, Larry, it's also what happens towards the end of any stage anyway, because you know where we're going. Finishing 35k, GC teams, sprint teams, they all want to be in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time it's the same. It's dangerous for the GC riders, and the sprinters need to get a result. So, yeah, I guess it's always going to be stress in the last 30k, and hopefully we'll be able to see them stay out of trouble and no big crashes today. Just everyone gets home safely, and a good sprint at the end.
Well, it was fascinating here about your team management before we were interrupted on a couple of occasions by our producers throwing things our way. And Sean, of course, Lavenue, one of the great survivors of cycling, been around a long time. You know him and know of him. And it's interesting, isn't it, how the structures within the teams are becoming more specific, and people from outside of cycling are being brought in as well.
Yes, well, we're hearing a lot of that, where people outside of cycling are coming in and adding a lot to it and improving the performance. And talking about Lavenue, Marc Maddy, of course, FDJ, that rivalry there, as Larry talked about, they would have been on the bikes and still carried through into the team management, and it's something that's going back from many years. I remember in my day as well, when I was in the fringe teams and then went to a Dutch team, and it was always there. And with all things that has improved in cycling, I thought, you know, that would have fizzled out, but it's just still there, and it's great to hear that from Larry there, that it goes on between the French teams all the time. But yeah, it's a sport that is developing all the time. But when you look at all sports, I suppose, you know, you see and you hear about and you follow the sports and the way they have, you know, changed in, you know, field sports as well. They're tracking the player so much. They have, you know, how many meters they run and all of that. And when you look at, you know, soccer, for example, all the, you know, the touches and the contribution to make the goals, all the technology everywhere is improving, and it's just improving all the sport, the result at the end of the day.
A lot of those stats as well, whatever sport you're talking about, whether it be assists or touches, meters covered on the football field, you know, what's done on the bike, kilometre sprint in breakaways, they're all used in scouting now, aren't they, to sign riders and get riders involved. But I mean, for the full picture, you can never know until someone's in your team, the effect they might have on the group. There's all sorts of different things to come into the mix. You're watching the Tour de France, and there are 33.3 kilometres to go on the way to Nîmes. Probable last sprint stage of this tour, and we're building up to it. 1 minute 24 now for Thomas Gachignat of Total Energy. A Frenchman at home, racing his home tour. First attempt ever at a stage race longer than 6 days. Only 4 World Tour days before this, and he's not just hanging in there, he's showing off the name of his team at the front and at the front of the peloton. Adam suggested things were changing. We're getting evidence of that here now. Look at Anton Marché right hand side in those fluorescent yellow jerseys, the white little panels on the left-hand side as well. It's the man in the green jersey there protecting the Eritrean superstar Binyam Girmay. On the right, as we now look at it, just briefly out of shot, the team have got new investment at the moment. Yes, Astana Kazakhstan are going to be a semi-Chinese team going forward, with XDS choosing to invest for the next 5 years. They have a former winner in Nîmes in Mark Cavendish, probably taking on his final bunch sprint, if it does get to that, at the Tour de France. GC teams move up here. Tratnik is there, Soler is there, Sivakov as well. And the reason they were all moving up, Sean Kelly, it was one of those roundabouts, it was one of those turns, it was a narrowing of the road. Everyone has to stay there, but Søren Vardenschultz will be having to play catch up.
Yes, he will. But yeah, again, you know, call from the team directors, team managers, director sportives, just we're turning now, be careful guys. And it seems to be getting more and more, even on the days where it's dull and not any major wind. Every time there's a major corner coming up when you're going on a big main road for a number of kilometres. We've seen it so much in this tour and other races, but a lot in this tour where it's like a sprint to get into the corner, and then around the corner it all just knocks off again.
Yeah, I think, you know, it has a lot to do with all the information all the teams have these days. And, you know, we all use this app, Velo Viewer, which is an amazing app. I love it. I'm always spending time on there researching before the races. But the problem is everyone has the same one. And so everyone gets the same information, and everyone knows each time you're coming through a town. And, you know, for example, in the Giro this year, I remember one time we were riding along, and then it just seemed like everyone started to sprint. And I was, you know, curious if I missed something. And it was just, yeah, there was a town, and everyone had the same information on the radio. Nothing was important, but there was a town. And so everyone on the radio said, there's a town, move up, move up. And everyone moved up, but nothing happened. So yeah, a lot of stress for nothing a lot of times. But the problem is, you know, also the directors are under a lot of stress. And if they don't tell you that there's a town coming, and for some reason there's a split, then yeah, I guess they get a lot of heat at the end of the day. So yeah, it's just, yeah, it creates a lot of stress in the bunch. But that's how it's going these days.
It must be part of the pub if you lead through town, as we can see here. A little bit of Tratnik and Lampard there on the front, just a little bit of shoulder movement. But yeah, maybe as we were talking about the exposure, if you lead through town, maybe that helps, because the spectators inside the road see, oh yeah, that team was leading through, and that adds to your pub for the tour or for the year.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you're a rider and, you know, you're on the front with 30K to go and you're on TV, it's better than being in the back of the bunch. So
Here's the illustration as well, guys. Look how much it just calmed down then when there was a wider road. They're sort of moving out of town, and they were suddenly across the road. Incredible, really, how, again, you got the call. They probably got the call for those few turns, and the gap has come down by a good, what, 40 seconds since they went through that little bit of a town and those little bit of a sections, and now it's calmed down again.
Yeah, you know, I think it's something that I kind of realized when I did a race on my home road. So there's a small race at the beginning of the year called Tour des Alpes-Maritimes, or the name changes every
I
year,
think I still have medication in my system.
around Nice, and yeah, I remember a couple years ago we were doing a stage, and I knew the stage like the back of my hand because it was on my training roads, and I just saw everyone sprinting again at a moment, and I didn't know why. And yeah, it was just, you know, there was a bridge and a small narrowing for 3 seconds, but everyone gets the same info on the radio. Oh, there's a bridge, be at the front. And if you really know the roads, then you know it's not important to be there. But unless you really, really know everything, and no one in the race knows every road that they race on, it's hard to know what parts are really important and what parts aren't. Another interesting, oh, sorry. Another interesting thing will be, you know, I saw there was a lot of talk on certain things to maybe make the race safer, and yeah, one of the things they're talking about is getting rid of radio. So I don't know if that'll happen or not, but there'll be some tests this year, and it'll be an interesting change to see what happens.
This is Johannes Kulset, youngest rider in the race, mechanical issue. There's a little bit of looking around. I just wondered if there'd been an incident, but I think it was Lampard who was looking to make sure that Evenepoel was on his wheel. See if we can replay to see what the issue was, whether it was just mechanical or anything else for Kulset.
I have arrived with 350 meters to go here in Nîmes, and it's super hot. It's spicy here in Nîmes, 35 degrees. I'm standing here at the roundabout that everyone has talked about before today. The roundabout, they are going in with 400 meters to go and exiting with 300 meters to the finish line. If you take a look down here, the organizers have made the roundabout wider, putting new tarmac here, making the run-in actually almost straightforward. If you get the first line, the riders will be able to go straight forward into the roundabout, out with 300 meters to go. One interesting part is freshly new tarmac. I don't know if you can sense it on the picture, but if I stand on it, it sticks to my shoe. Maybe you can see it here. It will stick to the wheels for sure when it's so hot. When I'm standing here, it feels like I'm standing above a fire. So hot is it at the moment at the new tarmac. But yeah, it is a roundabout, a festive finish today. 5 roundabouts within the last 5 kilometers. This one is the crucial one, but one important thing is that the organizers have made it wider, and if you follow me in, the riders will take straight forward in here with 300 meters to go, and the road actually slightly bends a little bit, so they will not be able to see the finish line when they go in here, because the road is bending a little bit to the right, so the finish line will be visible with 250 meters to go.
Thank you, Hannes Milka on the ground there with that finish. By the way, Larry was talking about experiments and new rules. There is no experimenting anymore with the safe zone, during which if there's an accident, everybody gets the same time on the GC. Today, we are back to 3 kilometers. Now then, this is Johannes Kulset, who also already had one incident. Oh my word, talk a roundabout. That really did nearly end in tears. What on earth happened there?
Well, they should have taken the exit, and they just kept going around. My God, that was a scary one with the team cars coming the other way around the roundabout. Lucky there that they were not a crash, and the rider behind the car, of course, going at that rate. My God, that was a danger one.
It's easy, isn't it, to forget how chaotic things are. It's so easy to forget how chaotic things are. Get little reminders like that. I can tell you that Larry's gone off into the breakaway.
Yep, definitely still some medication.
And everyone else towards the end. Danny's waiting there too. Robbie will be trying to sprint to the breakaway after the finish line, so it's going to be an interesting one. He's with us now to the finish. And Robbie, I don't know if you're watching them, but that was a shocker.
Well, I missed the situation that got him in this situation, but what I was just looking at and sort of pulling faces at was the distance I could see up the road with nothing to see in terms of convoy, anything else. Coulson on the back bumper of the team car. Could end up getting himself in some trouble too. He's not in danger of missing the time cut, and he's not really going to play a role in the finale, but tricky situation to get yourself in.
This is Gachignard, who's got himself in the situation of being up the road, but he's only 14 seconds now. Peloton are just about to see him. And Sean, we were looking at the finish there. Again, they don't see the finish until late. What did you make of that, the little bit that we could see there?
Well, it's, again, a danger one, because with, you know, the roundabout, they have shaved a lot off it, so it's made it much wider, and the run-through is much safer for the guys on the front. But if you have riders wanting to move up, and the teams want to, you know, cut through as well, and they get cut out by the barriers, because the team that leading will take the shortest way through. And as we heard from Hannes there, just after as well, you do not see the line until I think there's 200 metres to go, he said. You know, all of that, it just makes it that little bit more dangerous, because if you have a straight line of 400 or 500 metres, well then everybody goes down straight run to the finish. But when it's chicanes running in very late in the finish, it does make it dangerous. And yeah, it's a one where I do not like, because the speed that will be coming in here again today, and you know, the teams will be taking a lot of risk, and getting to the point last sprint they're going to say, okay, this is one where we have to do something and try and get a win, and you know, that risk will be probably pushed up a bit more by the teams.
Wind's blowing here, and Groupama FDJ are putting the hurt on. Clément Rousseau will be their man to try and make sure if he can get involved at the finish. He was with Stefan Kung, who was doing his very best to split things at the front there, and you could just see the Visma Lisa bike moved up straight away. Ben Turner was looking after Carlos Rodriguez, and as well, Tadej Pogacar sits in about 10th wheel in the yellow jersey. And if there's any bit of movement at the front, to the front come Lotto Destiny with that man Victor Campenaerts. 24 Ks now to go. Interesting. Things have just woken up a little at the front.
Yeah, a little bit more wind, or maybe not more wind, but from a different direction. So that's always going to just make them, well, it's going to pique their attention, isn't it?
And again, the directors are going to make it more nervous, because you're always getting that call, and you know, every team is getting the same call. As we heard from Larry there, you know, they just get a call for anything now from the director of Sport East. And of course the riders, the moment they hear that, you have so many teams on the front wanting to, you know, keep your position here and up in the pace, and that's the reason we can see it starting to up pace. But we're into that final 25k, so that's what you would be expecting in a normal situation here. If we had no radios, the riders would be naturally getting a bit nervous trying to keep their position, GC and sprint teams.
Breakaways caught then in that last turn, and now everybody wants to make sure they have a position on the front just in case. Kelderman's up there. See Jorgensen not far away as well. He was just telling the crowd to step away as they were encroaching a little, and the peloton was getting a lot wider.
Well, think back to the cardboard sign incident when, as they were at that time, Jumbo-Visma on the right-hand side of the road, and Tony Martin was taken out and took down a number of them. Stages like this are the ones you've really got to be paying attention, not let your guard down for a single moment, and that's really looking after your team leader, being the guy at the front, keeping an eye on all the peripheral goings-on.
Philipsen moving up on the left-hand side on the wheel of Mathieu van der Poel.
And he'll need to do a better job of staying in that wheel when it comes to the finish, compared to what he did at the intermediate sprint, where he got completely separated from Van der Poel. And Brian Coquard had just an armchair ride through to the intermediate sprint and won it. And Philipsen was trying to work his way out of trouble, got back to second, but he'll be able to just sort of brush that off somewhat from the intermediate sprint. But what comes next is far more important, and you can't afford to be making those small errors, because they'll be punished.
see that Mathieu Fodopol resisted the temptation to go all cyclocross on the roundabout then.
Well, straight through the middle.
Exactly. He kept that position on the left while other riders were forced through the middle. And roundabouts, well, the order of the day going into the finish line. We just saw with Anders Milker exactly how it looked, Robbie, and you know, you're holding 10 up. There's plenty coming up.
You can count them down, 10 in the last 10k. But 4 of them in the last 2 and a bit kilometres.
This is Kulset, still in the cars. It was a real fight just for him to be at this race after a horror crash training down in Sierra Nevada in May. Operation later, he is here though, and he's been riding through the Tour de France on debut. There's Firmenich Postnanel move up left hand side as we look at it. Through the centre you can see Pascal Ackermann being escorted into position. This is Kevin Jeunetz. Clément Rousseau being looked after there. They're going to give it their best with Rousseau. Was not a big name sprinter, more of a rouleau who's had a good turn of speed on him. They are looking for whatever they can get, Groupama.
And up the middle, Lidl Trek. Yes, Mads Pedersen is no longer in the race, but they've been doing everything they can for Ryan Gibbons to get up there in the sprint. So he's been ably assisted by the lead-out man, the other lead-out man from Lidl Trek in Jasper Stuyven, who went close to winning a stage of his own back on stage 9 across the gravel. I felt like he was the fastest in that group, but he chose to attack some 9 kilometres from the finish, caught within the final kilometre, and that was his race over.
Pogacar sitting a bit further back now in about 15th position through the centre. Means about halfway down the peloton, does it look there?
Yeah, well, in the 15th row, we'll put you in about 80th, 90th position.
Get a eye down in the 4th wheel there of that Intermarché train. Biniam in green.
And that's why it seems that you start to hear a lot of team talks when you hear on the radio, this sort of stuff. They talk about riding in the bubble rather than one long line, because if your protected rider is sitting in the back of the line and with 7 teammates in front of him, well, that's 7th wheel, but you multiply that by 8 or 9 across the road, you're 56th or 63rd on the road then. So they talk about riding in the bubble, so the sprinter rides further up into the group, and the teammates, instead of riding one long line, they'll be sort of either side of the sprinter. They'll be much more bunched, which means you're all much closer to the front of the peloton.
20 kilometres now remain, and well, the bar's still open. And the delivery's about to occur. Christian Jensen on duty there, having worked all day long. Now then, this is what's coming up on the road. Another split. Let's hear from Israel Premier Tech on the radio.
Report from Rick is in capital letters, no wind in the final. So I guess it's just a light breeze, but no wind.
Voice of Steve Bauer there, referring, I imagine, to Rick Verbrugge from the team who went up the road and had a look. No wind at all in the finale. I wonder if that message will get through. Sean, you talked about it coming through. We might see a calming down, but we've just been talking about the run-in, the traffic dividers, and just the general fact that we're in the last 20k now and it's race on.
Yes, well, there will be a little bit of concern about this run-in because of all the roundabouts in that final 10 kilometres, and what the situation is at the moment, we're on quite large roads, everything is calm, the wind is not there, so you can afford to sit back a bit, and you can see the pace on the front as well. They're just controlling there, but there's not that big push on at all yet, and yeah, it's going to be a case now, try and keep off the front as much as possible with the riders that want to have a full lead out train, but it's not difficult to keep off. One man just can continue on riding on the front with the other teams and that mix of teams there, GC teams and sprint teams, and yeah, but it will get really nervous because again they will get the orders. The final is dangerous. You'll be reminded so many times as a rider. You go through it early in the day in the bus, the briefing before the start, but then they remind you all the time as the day go on, and it will be a lot more as we get into this final 10 kilometres. Because of those roundabouts, you have to be in that good position on the front end.
Travelling at 44 k's an hour here with 18 kilometres still to go. And this is as flat as a run-in that we're going to have at this tour now. Kwiatkowski continually on the radio here. He's sitting behind Rodriguez, their main GC man. Ben Turner in front of him. By the way, it's been good news for Ineos Grenadiers on the rest day in that Josh Tarling has committed his future to the team, signing a new long-term contract. Johannes Kulset returns, youngest rider in the race, back in the race after a bike change. A little bit of a silly crash and thankfully avoiding what was literally a big car crash. Bit of a shocker around a roundabout, going the wrong way on the race route there. Misunderstanding. Thankfully, it all came to nothing, apart from costing him a much longer chase on. Uno X will be doing their very best to help the last winner in Nîmes from a big bunch sprint. Alexander Kristoff, 10 years ago. He's a different rider now, much more advanced in his years, but he's also a rider who always pops up at the moment when you least expect him in a sprint.
Well, what he hasn't lost is the will to win. He's been up there already in this tour. He's been close, and what I like about his chances today is the strength of his team. They're very well drilled, Uno X Mobility, and just a couple of climbers in there, Johannesson and Kulse, but the rest, big, strong riders that can ride high speed. They can generate a lot of watts and generate a lot of shelter for a guy the size of Alexander Kristoff. Pull him up into position, and if they can get themselves really organised, then he is definitely a chance. I think the missing link for him so far in this tour, coming into the sprints, has been the absence of Søren Wallenskjold, for what I expected from him, winner of the recent Tour of Belgium, a really fast rider in his own right, but he just seems to have struggled throughout this tour. I'm not sure if he's had something wrong with him or just sort of failed to establish himself in the pecking order at the front of the peloton when it's really getting heavy going. I'm not sure, but maybe today he can turn things around and make a big difference for Kristoff.
Well, Søren Wallenskjold started riding his bike with his father, who was actually a triathlete, into triathlon. Moved down to the far south of Norway, more or less the most
where it's
southerly sized decent town. Well, they call it the Norwegian Riviera. I'm not joking.
It's beautiful.
I've been and commentated beach volleyball tournaments down there, places like Kristiansand and
I've been there.
Stavanger, which is where Alexander Kristoff is from. It's a bit further sort of up the north.
Yeah, been there too. Beautiful.
The north of the south, southwest.
North of the south.
But yeah, Wallenskjold moved down there with his family and he really started taking cycling seriously. The Hippo from Mondal is his Norwegian nickname, according to his team. Maybe slow to get going, but once he gets up to speed, you never know. And he had a really successful few weeks coming in, didn't he, to this tour? He won the GC at the Tour of Belgium. Great time trial victory early on and hung on fantastically well.
Well, yeah, he got through the. Sorry, Sean. He got through the Ardennes stage there to Dubuis in really good fashion for a guy who's 90 kilo.
And sometimes we see riders that are real good shape leading into the tour, and then suddenly it just falls off, and they get that dip, and yeah, it's difficult to recover. You don't have the time to recover really when you're going that well, so close to the tour. Then, yeah. If you have that dip, well, it's going to be a difficult one. And Søren Wallenskjold, you'd expect him to be up there. The beast he is. He's a big guy, and he has been definitely, as Robbie said, he's been the one who's missing, big time. The team have done an excellent job. We've seen him so many times. They're able to bust that run in very, very well, get into a good position. But the final lead out for their sprinter is just not there, and that's what they've been missing to try and get a stage victory.
15 kilometres to go. You could just see there's a little bit of panic for a couple of riders there. Do I stay with the team on one side? I've been separated. There was a jump from a Decathlon Giro d'Azur rider over one of those traffic islands to make sure they stayed with team, rather than having to move them moving up afterwards if one side got to the front a bit further. This is what it looks like at the minute. Cavendish being kept close to the front. and he will be hoping for one final opportunity to sprint at the Tour de France. And must be a strange feeling, Sean, for him. Coming towards the end, he knows that this is the final opportunity, but then again, there'll be nothing wrong with the motivation there.
No, not at all. I think, you know, Cavendish, it is going to be an opportunity for him today. And we know Mark, he just pops up on days, maybe not looking like a day he could pop up because of the difficult days before he's had in this race, but he just recovers so well. You know, talking about on Sunday, he did suffer major, and you'd always ask yourself the question, you know, how long is it going to take him to recover? But he does have an amazing recovery, and that is the big advantage here. And he's going to go, as all the sprinters are, all out for this one. And this race, of course, you know, has been the success story for him, because, you know, taking it on this year was always a risk. And when it was announced last year, I was saying, oh, this could be a difficult one for Mark, but he's achieved it, and, you know, another win is very much on the cards.
He has his team to help. Tejada keeping them at the front. Of course, there is no Miguel Marco here, no Fedorov. Gazzoli had to leave on the first day, so looking after Cavendish will be Ball and Ballerini, Lutsenko and Tejada. And it is Tejada on the front at the minute in that light blue jersey. 65 there in the white of Bahrain Victorious is Jack Haig. He'll be doing his best for Phil Bauhaus. Bauhaus, who sits a little further back, just on the wheel now of Nikias Arndt.
Well, Nîmes has really become the new Champs-Élysées, hasn't it, for this tour? The last chance for the sprinters.
I think we can expect it to be that way. And I think we could have expected that Thomas Gachinard was going to get the combativity prize today. Only man out there for any length of time, and that's how it's gone. 50 k's an hour, speed is just turned up that little bit. 12.5 kilometers to go. On our way into town now.
Well, we're approaching that zone of all the roundabouts, 10 in the last 10 kilometres. But in this part of France, on these roads, they're generally pretty large roundabouts. You can see now that this seems to be the rush in towards that zone, maintain position through the first one. Although they're large, it will string out. The field won't have the room it's had over the last 10 or 15 kilometres. So that battle already starting. So just keep yourself up there. Here they go, swinging in.
Geraint Thomas up there trying to win that position for the Ineos Grenadiers, but his team's lost the wheel. They're much further back. It's Visma Leasebike who are in there looking after their main man, who's in the polka dot jersey, remember still, Jonas Vingegaard. GC teams mixing it with sprint teams. And even though you don't have to have the map in front, do you, Sean? You could just look at the peloton, look at the front, look at the demeanour, and you know when these moments are coming.
You can feel it building, and you're being made aware of it as well. And you can see there just that, again, the sprinting to get the position in the roundabout. I was concerned about this one into Nîmes. A lot of the time you have huge crowds on the road.
Well, not every ride could be perfect.
Can be a danger one here. For the moment, haven't been
still made gains, even though we were kind of on the weak side.
That's not a problem here as we get into the final kilometers. And we get into that barrier.
Still did really well, 5-minute power. 20-minute, it's our highest 20, so even though we kind of struggled, we still made some good progress.
Keeping the front end and waiting for the time to come. And yeah, this final 10 kilometers, this is the one where there will be more, the roundabouts coming up pretty rapid one after the other. That's where I think we will see the fight and the really up in pace.
What's really telling for me is the relaxation of Tadej Pogačar a lot further back than we generally see him. I think that's a couple of things he realises. The buffer he's got over 3 minutes is really pretty comfortable. It's unlikely to split due to the lack of wind that we've been told about via the Premier Tech team. Also, I think maybe factoring in the level of desperation there's going to be for this sprint, being the last bunch sprint of
So for tomorrow we have a surprise 3-hour ride, so we're going to be sticking to about 160 watts for 3 hours, really. Low, I just need to be in the saddle for a long period of time, so.
With Biniam Gourmet in the green jersey, bringing him forward, and the right side of that roundabout was the best one. This is where it's really important to have had your team scout going ahead. As we heard earlier about zero wind in the finale, don't worry about it. But they would have been making notes at each and every roundabout, right at the first one. 8.9 kilometres, go left at that one, for example. I don't know if left or right is better. It's the only way you can tell is going there, driving it or riding it, and making notes as you go in. It'll be rally style guidance over the radio to the riders, tell them what's coming and which side of the road they need to be on.
Another left turn and a narrowing this time as well. That's why there was that extra little increase in pace from Intermarché. If Biniam Girmay wants to take home that green jersey, he has to defend the position. He doesn't have to win the stage here, but a nice high placing, if his rivals are going to do the business, is what he needs. 82 points is his lead after the intermediate sprint earlier on, and his team doing a great job at the moment. His Melissa bike move to the front. Tischbenot is there, and they'll be looking for stage win as well. Wout van Aert has already told us that he would like to sprint today. He's at the back of their train. And here come Lidl Trek on the right-hand side, bringing up the South African champion, who is Ryan Gibbons. Sam Bennett moved to the front as well. And Sean Kelly will be hoping for the best.
Well, we need his best. And it'll be an interesting one here as we get in the finals to see which team will be able to take control. Will there be a team able to do that, as we've seen in the race? A lot of the time, there's no team able to really have numbers on the front and give that lead out to a rider where you drop them off at 200 metres to go. We haven't seen it practically at all in this race. But the interesting one is we can see Vingegaard, he's very much to the front here, and we can see the yellow jersey is quite a way off. But you can see here, to stay in the front, you have to, take a lot of risk with those guys. If you sit a bit further back, it's not as hectic back there, but then you're always where we can see Pogacar, you're like a long ways back, very much in the middle there. But that is a risk as well, because something happened, riders go down in front, you can get caught up. But yeah, it's one you try and fight with the front. There's risk there. If you sit back, there's less fighting, but there's also risk involved.
Oh, we saw the shouldering there. I think it was John Degenkolb just defending his position as the rider from Lotto Destiny tried to come up on the right side of the road and just went off into the grass, made it safely back on. We're now 500 metres away from the next roundabout, so expect another push in the pace to get to this one. Keep your position at the front, find the best way. It's even less, 6.8 kilometres through it, out the other side, and much of a muchness, maybe the right side slightly better.
I'll have to call this the Remco Evenepoel roundabout, the white jersey in the middle of it. Ineos Grenadiers make it to the front. A reminder today, if you're tuning in late, thinking sprint day, we'll just watch the finale. It's a 3-kilometre safe zone, that if there are any incidents, accidents or problems, everyone gets the same time. No experiments here. It's a 3-kilometre safe zone. And 6.5 Ks remain on nice wide roads, mainly riding around the city of Nîmes before going into it. We've got a big left turn coming inside the next kilometre, and now it's Bahrain Victorious who move to the front. They're having to sprint to keep the position here, just to try and make sure they get their man. Gourdon through the centre, looking after Naesen and Bennett, who are there, of course, for Decathlon. Next to them, you've got the whole Intermarché train centred around Biniam Girmay. On the right, as we look at it now, Uno X looking after Alexander Kristoff, and several teams trying to be with them, including Jaco Alula, who've moved up just at the right time. Big left turn coming up after this.
And now whatever the breeze is, they're going straight into it. So pretty much a full-on headwind, but as you can see from the trees, not much wind at all, so it's dropped off completely. Another couple of 100 metres, another roundabout. It looks like it could only be passage on the left with that guardrail running down through the middle. So it's a series of roundabouts now until they get to the next big left turn, which will bring them through 2.5 kilometres to go. And it's more or less a straight-ish run to the finish, but littered with roundabouts as well, 3 major ones.
EF on the left-hand side in their pink jerseys looking after Marijn van den Berg. You can see Ben Turner doing his best to try and get Carlos Rodriguez up there in the GC inside those 3 kilometres to go. Next left turn comes around just over 2.5 Ks to go. Here's the next roundabout though. Left-hand side passage, as Robbie was saying.
So this just shows that importance of when you push to the front, maintain that position, knowing that it's only passage on the one side. It's going to squeeze the field a lot more. They don't have any option to go around the other side and use a bit more energy and keep themselves at the front. You get squeezed out and then you have so much work to do to try and make your way back towards the front. And you can just see how much more disorganised it's gotten over that last kilometre, where we had colour order before and now it's just a big soup.
And riders concentrated together. You can see that Cavendish is Astana about 3rd team through the middle there. Pogacar still further behind him and not moving yet. He's happy. This is Durbridge, who had a crash in the neutral zone today. He's in the orange. Alongside him now is Magnus Cort with that brand new dyed mustache. Bruno Amirai trying to get there as well.
Well, Uno X Mobility really well organised their left-hand side of the road under 4K to go, and they have 4 riders in a row led by Magnus Cort. This is what we spoke about earlier. Their timing's been good, their discipline, their organisation. Got another one coming up to join them now. So 5 riders from Uno X, arm in the air from Magnus Cort, signalling traffic island on the left, squeeze in.
Still a while from that magic 3 kilometre number. That is Bruno Amirai, who is done for the day. Den's now at the front. Keep your eye on from Poppel maybe for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, but behind him 500 metres for everyone already to be safe now in the GC, and Pogacar is moving up as well to make sure he's there. Arnaud Dumas in the red jersey has 2 men in front of him. One will be his lead-out man, who of course will be Dan McClay to try and go again. On the left, Uno X with 5 bodies there. The last man being Alexander Kristoff. And now, as Mark Cavendish just loses the wheel of what looks to be Ballerini, they go under 3 kilometres to go. It is everybody through there, same time, if any incidents or accidents occur. But the roundabouts come thick and fast. Another left turn coming up here, and Sean Kelly, it's hotting up now.
Yes, it is hotting up, and we can see, teams starting to appear, but Uno X are the ones who have the numbers here, and, continuing on to hold their place on the front, not giving too much an effort, having a glance across there, and Magnus Cort just seeing what numbers and what teams are coming to the front here, and just keep that position, and, yeah, always numbers are so important.
Well, Alpecin de Koning, they've been hovering in the middle with Van der Poel and Jasper Philipsen, waiting to make their move, but they have been pushed out of it at the moment. There's no sign of them being able to get back to the front just yet, so they're going to need to try and come out and around or just shove their way through the middle. Astana coming up on the left of Picha with Case Bols. Now Victor Kampenaerts on the front for Lotto Destiny, and Arnaud Dumas had a bit of work to do to come and find his teammates. In the middle, further back, Dylan Groenewegen tracking Brian Coquard, who in turn is on Phil Bauhaus, and still so organised. Uno X, and on the right-hand side now come Alpecin de Koning for Philipsen.
There they are on the grey jerseys, and it's the white jersey with the rainbow stripe to the world champion who comes up. Inside 1.9 kilometres to go. They sprint out of another roundabout. There are still 2 more to go after this, with 1,800 metres to the line. Cavendish has been moved up by Case Bols. A reminder that this is the final sprint for the record man at the Tour de France. What's it going to be today? In Nîmes, the scene of number 4 all the way back in 2008. But there's a crash behind. An issue here. Riders caught out, and some won't be able to take in, and it's Binyam Girmay. Binyam Girmay having to get up, and that is a disaster for the green jersey.
Well, we said this competition could be as good as over. He just had to keep it upright. He hasn't done that. So Philipsen now being piloted. Alpecin de Koning come back to the front. Van der Poel there in the white, still on his teammates, slotting in behind Rasmus Tiller from Uno X on the front now. Christophe Laporte trying to bring Wout van Aert, but he's not in the wheel yet. So Philipsen poised, and the favourite is looking good to get it done.
Under the Flamme Rouge, 1 kilometre to go. That brings in yet another roundabout, the penultimate of this one. A reminder, they will not see the line until 200, 250 to go. They come through Just to note that
These fucking guys are flying.
Crashed. It's an 82-point difference, 50 on the line here, and an opportunity for Philipsen to move up. Cavendish is well back, but he can surf the wheels. He's trying to do that right now. Can they do it? Kukau moves up in the red and white. Here we go. Now Philipsen is there. On the right-hand side, they peel off, and now Van der Poel's going to take it up. Bauhaus is in third wheel as well on the wheel of Philipsen. There's through that then, and it's Nicky Hart who's waiting. Right-hand side they come, and only now they will see the finish. Vardenscholder's trying to lead up behind in the red jersey, but as Van der Poel finishes on the right in the grey, as we look at it, it's Philipsen through the centre trying to get there. You can see him. It's Alexander Kristoff who's trying to repeat, but he can't do it. It's Jasper Philipsen who wins. 50 more points, and the green jersey fight is on, going into the final few stages of this Tour de France.
Well, what a tug of war, and Jasper Philipsen and his Alpecin-de-Koning team, you could see they were pushed back, but they were poised, they were waiting, they never put their noses in the wind. They rode up alongside Uno X and then took control. The critical moments through the roundabouts, and Biniam Girmay, unfortunately for him, has been the one to go down, the man in the green jersey, and that competition is well and truly back on. The intermediate sprints will decide the green jersey, but Jasper Philipsen gets number 3.
3 up for Philipsen. Delight there for Alpecin-de-Koning and Sean Kelly. Not the way we want to see this decided, but a big thrift of points back now for Jasper Philipsen. Whatever happened behind, you have to say that Alpecin-de-Koning rode it perfectly.
Yes, perfect job, and this is the risk, you know, for the green jersey. It's always there when you get these big bunch finishes, but Alpecin-de-Koning doing the great job into that very technical part, the final roundabout, and the little bit of a chicane, a little bit of a bend in the road, not being able to finish. Van der Poel again takes it up at perfect time, and when you get the lead out like that, as we see Philipsen, you know, he's so difficult to beat.
Biniam Girmay battered, bruised, but thankfully across the line. 2 teammates with him. 50 points have disappeared from his lead. We hope he's healthy. We hope he's on the bike. Because at the intermediate sprints now, Sean, we are going to have quite the fight for green all the way from here until Nice.
Yes, well, what turns out to be a real, you know, comfortable lead this morning, now it comes into a position where he is going to the fight for the intermediate sprints, and let's hope that, you know, the crash there, he's not carrying an injury. That is going to be the important one, that he can be at his best in the next number of days, because the fight is on for green.
Not the way we wanted it to be. There will be collective heartbreak watching this. Not just at home in Eritrea, because this man is a cycling global superstar. Biniam Girmay has been at his very best. A dream tour right until now, but you know that anything can happen at any time in this crazy, crazy sport. He's helped by his teammates, off to get the war wounds checked. Thankfully he can finish, but we will have a nervous wait overnight to see what the damage is. Girmay still in green for now, but that lead now has been cut to 32 points. This is the sprint again, Sean.
Yes, well, we can see the sprint here. Alpecin just taking it up into this roundabout, and then Van der Poel immediately to get the perfect line through, as we can see, the shortest way through, just kicks through the roundabout, give Philipsen the perfect lead out, and we can see here, takes him to the point where Philipsen need to kick off his sprint, and the rest were sprinting for places.
Bauhaus was behind on the wheel there. You could see that Kristoff was coming through. Sam Bennett up there in 4th place. And that's a comfortable win for Jasper Philipsen in the end after a perfect job. Very well done by Alpecin-de-Koning. 3 up. Oh, yes. It took them a while, but they're now in the game. Well, this is Nîmes, And that's the man who's won here. Jasper Philipsen beating Phil Bauhaus and Alexander Kristoff. Sam Bennett in fourth, Wout van Aert fifth, Ackermann, Kokar, Warenscholt, Gibbons and Van Poppel. But disappointment, heartbreak and worry behind for Biniam Girmay, the star of the Tour so far, crashing.
Wout van Aert est 5e, l'Allemand Pascal Ackermann termine 6e position, la 8e place appartient à Søren Warenscholt, 9e le
Alpecin de Koenig, the winning team, celebrating together, united together. Robbie Rees, Mathieu van der Poel, Jasper Philipsen. Here we have Gini Famech coming in. And Johnny, we're live on Eurosport. Can we get a quick reaction? First stage win for Jasper.
First one? No,
third.
Third, yeah. I was thinking so, yeah, it was amazing. We actually, we had the plan to come in the last corner, the last left corner, and that worked out pretty well. We were still with 4 and I could bring them until, I think 2 roundabouts to go, and yeah, it worked out pretty well today, yeah.
You guys are winners. You came here to win, and we know you were struggling in the first week, getting close. What does it mean to get the third stage win here?
Yeah, it means a lot for sure, because like you said, we struggled a little bit in the beginning to find the first victory. Then, as you look, in the end we have 3 already now, so it goes pretty well. It was also actually the last really sprint stage, so it's really nice for Jasper to take it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Gianni Vermeersch helping Jasper Philipsen to the win today.
Well, another really well executed sprint from Alpecin de Koenig. And they have been planning it from a very long way out. What they hadn't accounted for was Biniam Girmay falling off, involved in a crash. He won't lose any time. He doesn't win any points. And that means that the gap between Jasper Philipsen and Biniam Girmay has been absolutely eaten into. 32 points now, all that separates the two. Well, I think let's go and hear from the stage winner.
Master of sprinting is really back. A third stage win on this Tour de France. You must be very happy with that one.
Yeah, really happy. Definitely offers such a team effort. It's always nice when you can win together. And I think that's what we did definitely today.
First of all, did you see the crash on that roundabout?
No, I haven't seen anything. We were always together with our team, and we're trying to position ourselves and focusing on our own lead out. And I didn't see any crash, so hope everybody is okay.
And then it was all for you. You were pretty impressive there, beating Phil Bauhaus to the line.
Yeah, I was feeling good. Had a good rest day and was feeling that my shape improved during this Tour de France. So I was confident if we could line it up good today, we could go for the win.
3 stage wins is a good Tour de France, or it's a very good Tour de France?
Yeah, every stage win is really hard to get, definitely in this level. So to take 3 is a really good job, and I think we can be proud.
Talking about that crash, Biniam unfortunately was caught in the crash. He's back on his bike and riding. But that means you get a lot of points for the green jersey classification. Now the gap is 36, I believe. Is it still possible?
Yeah, everything is possible, but it's really hard. He's climbing really well. I just hope he's okay after the crash. Yeah, because he doesn't deserve to lose like this, whatever. But yeah, I just try whatever we can but the hard stages are yet to come. So yeah, we go day by day, but we also enjoy mostly this win.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heading under the Flamme Rouge then, as we revisit that sprint to the line inside the last kilometre. Uno X at this stage looking really strong. But then Philipsen, of Alpecin with Mathieu Van der Poel in front of him. Van der Poel just preparing it to take it up at this point. Driving that pace along. Great work done. The world champion leading Philipsen towards the front and then released perfectly to get away. Alexander Kristoff doing well enough to come home in third place. Let's hear from him.
With the roundabout, the team we saw Rasmus going quite aggressively. Tell us a bit about this last kilometer.
Yeah, it was hectic with all the roundabouts, but we did a good job. Unfortunately, we managed not to keep the whole team in one unit, so we had 3 guys in front, and then the whole Alpecin team between me and Søren. And I think that was the key today. If we had managed to put me in front of Jasper, maybe I could have held him behind me, but it's hard to say. He's very fast, so but at least I think I would have a better chance.
That was the last sprint of this tour. Normally, third place. What's the feeling?
I'm quite happy with how the team performed today. Of course, you dream of winning, but I have 2 third places in the sprint in this tour, so at least it's way better than what I performed last year. So I take with me that, and I look forward for the rest of the tour. Will be almost like a training camp, but I will try to finish, and then it's going to be many cool races after later on in the season.
Thank you very much for that.
Moments of delight for Jasper Philipsen.
Ah, fuck.
3 wins.
Avec Mathieu Van der Poel qui a encore lancé ce sprint. On n'était pas seul, hein, il avait également un coéquipier juste devant lui avec notamment Rob Kiss qui a effectué lui aussi un gros travail. Mais en tout cas, Van der Poel, Philipsen, c'est une association qui fonctionne. On avait
20th time that Nîmes has been an arrival town in the Tour de France. Let's go and hear from Philippe Roudouf.
On est à 3 cette année, je le disais. 9e victoire d'étape pour Philipsen dans son histoire avec le Tour de France en l'espace.
First of all, Philip, congratulations on the 3rd stage victory of Jasper Philipsen. It wasn't the dream first week in the Tour, but after that stage 10 victory, everything seems to have clicked into place.
I think it is, but of course the first week wasn't like we planned, but that was to start with already the crash of Jasper, so I think it's normal that then things become a little bit more difficult. Then he got disqualified, so I think we can say as a team we stayed calm, we kept the confidence, and I think everybody can see now why we stayed calm. We knew we had the quality in-house with Jasper and with the lead-out, and that opportunities would come, and we are now at 3, so yeah, we can only be happy about that.
When you take a look at that lead out today, it was textbook all the way through, and especially with the delivery.
Yes, I think if if you see the timing when we first got to the front, it's indeed textbook, but everybody knows we work hard on it. We invested a lot in the lead out and in the sprint train, and it gives confidence to the sprinter, and the team gets confidence out of the fact that we know if the lead out is good, it's very difficult to beat Jasper, and it all fell into place again today.
The green jersey leader Biniam Girmay crashed with 2.5 kilometers to go. Of course, Jasper Philipsen closed in today after that victory, and also in the intermediate too.
Yes, we've seen it. Of course, it's a pity that there's a crash, but yeah, it doesn't change anything with or without the crash. Jasper had to go for the win, and in the end, at the end of the day, it makes a big difference for the green jersey indeed. I think the battle is more open again than we could have expected, and than we could have hoped for, and we will do everything to try to get that one also still in Nice.
Thanks, Philip, and congratulations.
You're welcome.
No change for Tadej Pogačar. He moves now on to 35 days in yellow in his career. Overtaking Lucien Bobet and Ottavio Bottecchia. Another record to be written. Rob was talking about the fact that every day that this man gets on a bike pretty much feels as though he's breaking a record. Not far from the truth. Jasper Philipsen with his third win on this year's Tour de France. 9 stage wins now for him in his career. Let's take a look back at the best of today's highlights. Flamingos and a picturesque setting in Grisson, down on the Mediterranean coast as they headed off for this just over 188 kilometers in today's stage. People thinking that there might be quite an active start. Well, a couple went up the road. Stefan Kung, the first to attack, and he looked over his shoulder to see Dujardin with him. And then the two of them decided that they weren't too interested in continuing, so over to the side of the road for a comfort break, and it all came back together at the intermediate sprints. Mathieu van der Poel once again leading things out. Adrien Coquard was the man who managed to get across the line in first place. Philipsen came home just after him, and then Turgis in third with Gamay in fourth. So 4 points gained at that intermediate sprint by Jasper Philipsen. After that, Thomas Gachinard from Total Energy broke away solo, and a great effort from him, piling up the road until the last 10. Disaster for Gamay with 1.5 kilometers to go. The green jersey involved in a crash, which meant no points for him in the sprint today. And then, well, what a sprint it was for Jasper Philipsen, winning ahead of Phil Bauhaus, who came home in second, with Alexander Kristoff in third. But all of that, huge implications for the green jersey, and a 9th stage for Philipsen.
Mathieu, what a lead out, what a performance. Talk us through the last 2 kilometers.
Yeah, I think we did really well as a team. We remained calm, and actually we could do exactly what we wanted to do, like we discussed in the meeting. So yeah, I'm really happy with the win from Jasper.
3 wins so far for you and the team and Jasper. What's left now in the Tour de France for you and Alpecin de Koenig?
Suffering, I guess. I think there's not much left for us, and yeah, I think we're really happy and we're going to enjoy this victory first.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Confirmation then of the top 10. Wout van Aert once again in the top 5. Pascal Ackermann up there. Sam Bennett in 4th place. Second place on the day, Germany's Phil Bauhaus. Let's go and hear what he had to say at the end.
Phil Bauhaus, firstly, congratulations. 2nd place there, your best result on a stage during this Tour de France. The team took control into the final, into the lead out. Are you satisfied with how it all went?
Yeah, definitely, especially Jack. He did amazing today, like from kilometer 0 to the last 5K, he was always there, keeping us in front. And yeah, Mathieu and Nikias did also really great to position me always in front at the roundabouts and the corners. And for me, it's always better if there are like a bit technical points, because it makes it a bit easier for me to follow the wheels. And yeah, I'm more than happy with 2nd place. Philipsen was much faster than me.
It was a day where everyone was quite nervous for the wind, and in the end there was no real breakaway. Nothing happened in the end. How did it feel inside the peloton? Did it feel nervous and quite twitchy?
Yeah, definitely. I think every GC team or GC rider is afraid or was afraid to lose so close to the finish time on the flat day, because now basically it's just hard days left, so it suits them much more than today's day. Yeah, so their acing were
were a bit nervous, made it a bit more stressful, but at the end, despite the crash in the final, I think everyone came safe through the day, so that's good, and I hope, of course, the guys who went down in the final are also okay.
It was your final opportunity for a victory or a result in a sprint. How can you compare this Tour de France to previous Tours de France you've ridden?
I mean, I just can compare to last year. It's my second tour now. I feel a bit like the hard days are raced even harder, and the easy days are raced easier because everyone needs to recover or knows what's coming up. And yeah, like you never had really a breakaway on sprint days. Like in the past, you always had 2, 3, 4 guys in the break, and I think now everyone is tired from the hard days and needs to recover.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Shin.
The hard days are hard. Here's a little look at that crash coming into this roundabout. Just slightly misjudging something there. Biniam Girmay flying to the floor. He will be disappointed. But coming in with his teammates, still positive, still knows he has the lead, just not as great as the lead he would have wanted. A little bit of road rash on the right-hand side. Oh, Biniam Girmay.